Hello and welcome to this episode of Be the Wolf. I'm excited today because I am here with Jenna Evola, and she is the founder of Evolve Systems. And there's a lot of technical speak about what she does, but the way I take it is that she helps brands utilize AI without losing the human element so you can actually still fucking connect to the brand. Jenna, does that feel accurate?
You know what? I think I'm actually going to start using your summary as my elevator pitch because, yes, that's exactly right.
Okay. I'm like reading all the things. We all do this, right? We have these bios and things that are like trying to tell people what we do, but
Yep.
sometimes it's a lot.
It is. And sometimes it even feels like blah, blah, blah. I don't even want to say it, right? It's what I do, but there's more layers to it, right?
Yeah. Okay. So now you might be wondering, oh, I don't care about AI or I don't have a brand. Why do I want to listen to this episode? Let me tell you why. So, if you're a person who has always known that there's something more for you, that you could feel it and you'd always just could feel it, you maybe not, you don't know exactly what it is, but you felt like there was something more for you. And you keep living your life and it ends up mediocre and flat, and you're not having that big life that you know in your heart is meant for you. If that's who you're going to want to listen to this story. Okay. Now, my first question for you is, when you were small, how did you imagine your life to be? How did you imagine your grown up life to be?
Oh, I was such a dreamer kid. I imagined from the time I was small, I wanted to be a news reporter. I wanted to be a journalist. And I was always a little performer. I was always in theater, shows, choir, playing instruments, very creative kid, always wanting to perform something. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I was as a kid. And I've continued on a little bit of that in what I'm doing now, where I'm trying to bring some of that childlike wonder back into my life right now.
So, you wanted to be a news reporter, a journalist. There's this aspect of talking to people, connecting to people, performing, being in front of people. And not everybody wants to do that as a kid. I know I was totally a performer and a singer until I was shut down by my music teacher, who shamed me in front of the whole class. And I didn't sing out loud again for many years. So, where in your past growing up, where were the moments that were like, hey, it's not okay for you to perform? It's not okay for you to have these big dreams. What were the things that made you believe that?
Wow, that's such a good question. Wow, nobody's asked me that before, but when I really think about it, I was pretty well encouraged throughout teenage and childhood years. I I auditioned for a lot of things, and so I think I got used to the idea of rejection, but I also very much got used to the idea of the pick me energy of trying to fit into somebody else's mold all the time. And that is probably what was my biggest barrier coming into adulthood because as a child, a teenager, really until I went off to college, my family, society encouraged me to do those creative things, the things that maybe wouldn't necessarily make me money or contribute to my career path directly, but it was a period of time that it feels like it ended once I went into the workforce and everything was supposed to be about work and not creativity anymore. So I think that's the arc where I lost it for a while. And it was no longer about being creative or performing or doing what I felt like doing. It was about, does this fit into the straight career path that I'm trying to build for myself?
Now, this is such an important thing to talk about because I know the rules, right? So you go through your teenage years and whatever, and then you go to college, and maybe you still study something like music or art, or maybe if your family encouraged you that way. But once you get out into the quote real world, there's this way you're supposed to be. And it comes from our parents to some degree, but it also comes from society. What for you was the perception of how you were supposed to be once you became an adult?
Yeah. Time to be serious, time to be laser focused, no time for play or fun anymore, no time for just doing what you want to do because you want to. It's all about, does it support the next step in the career path? Is it gonna make me more money? Is it gonna give me a better title? Is it gonna make me more impressive? Is it gonna make me feel more valuable in society? Which it's funny, I realized that I attached value to creativity, performing, that sort of thing, and the value changed around me of that talent, if you will, once it was time to be an adult and get serious.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people can relate, right? It's like our
Mhm.
adult life, we're not allowed to play, we're not allowed to laugh, we're not allowed to. And it's, I don't know about you, but I've seen it over and over. And I did it too, but where you compartmentalize. This is how I am at work. This is how I am with my friends. This is how I am with my boyfriend. This is how I am around my family. Was did you compartmentalize like that?
So much, so much, and that was as I was observing myself over the early years when when the focus suddenly did shift from play and creativity to, is this contributing to my career? I think I saw people reflecting back to me what was valuable suddenly,
Mm,
and on the idea of fitting yourself into different identities and containers. Oh, I did that so much when I put myself in the corporate spaces, which I spent a lot of time in. And if that doesn't teach you anything, it teaches you how to mask, compartmentalize, to be a different person to different people depending on the setting. And if you step back to look at that, you'll actually realize it's really weird to live your life that way, to be like different people in different settings. And I've always known on some level that I wanted to try to live my life in such a way that I didn't have to compartmentalize like that. I could just be one Jenna everywhere I go.
yeah. Yeah. And that's what being the wolf is all about, right? It's being all of you in all circumstances around all people, no matter what's going on. And
Yeah.
at least in my opinion, that's what being the wolf is about. But what I find really interesting is here you are in this workforce, and you're like, who do I have to be in order for you to see me as valuable?
Yep.
Back in high school and drama and doing plays and performing, who do I have to be for you to pick me and see me as valuable? And
Yes.
one of the things that I think people don't realize is we think that I'm this way in work, I'm this way in relationships, I'm this way in this other with it comes to health habits and stuff. But I've learned how we do one thing and how we do everything. So I'm curious about relationship for you. In relationships, whether they be friendship or romantic relationships, has that pattern shown up as well? That who do I have to be in order for you to see me as valuable?
Oh, 100%. I didn't really start examining myself and my patterns and like why I make certain decisions and why I am such a people pleaser sometimes and perfectionist sometimes, and like where did that come from and am I doing anything about it? Oftentimes we don't start looking at our negative patterns until they start causing enough damage in our lives that we kind of have to do something. I definitely, when I was like 25, I succumbed to what I feel looking back was just peer pressure to get married. Everything looked perfect on paper. I had like all of the things that I was told I was supposed to want, and I picked the wrong person. But the moral of the story is it didn't take me very long, but a couple of months to take a step back and go, oh my God, why did I just make this choice? I actually didn't make this choice for the right reasons.
What
Why did I do that? And that was really the first time I think that I allowed myself to look at my patterning and why I do certain things without judgment and just seek to accept and improve instead of beat myself up about it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you got married, and married is this bond that's supposed to last forever. And so I wonder if that, holy shit, this is forever, the gravity of that made you look and see, oh, wait, I wasn't being conscious and choosing what was right for me, what was right for my soul. When you examined, why did I make this choice? What did you come up with?
That I hadn't truly gotten to know myself yet. Yeah.
Yeah. And through that process, what did you learn about yourself?
I learned that the relationship that you have with yourself is always going to be the most important relationship in your life. And you really can't have partnership or true relationship or connection with anybody if you don't first have a good relationship with yourself. And in order to do that, you have to have curiosity. You have to seek to know who you actually are, admit when you're lying to yourself, and really be honest about what you want. Because I think that's what it was at that time. It was like a choice that I made because I didn't know myself or my preferences or what I really wanted out of life and the most important relationships in my life, like a marriage. I didn't even know what I wanted, what I needed, how impactful the closest relationships in my life would be to every aspect of my life. And I started looking at like all of my relationships differently, and especially the one I have with myself.
It's really interesting that you now work with brands because a brand is, how can a brand really make you love them and connect to them unless they are clear on who they are and have a
Oh,
solid relationship with themselves? And I think one of the things I've seen in my life and with my clients and is that the work we end up doing that we're passionate about ends up being tied to our own personal journey in one way or another. And so I this is the link I'm seeing from the outside looking in. Does that feel resonant for you?
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And a therapist that I used to work with, she was in school while I was working with her, and she would share some things that she was learning. And one thing that she said to me that just pinged when you were saying that is that people's greatest wounding is often their greatest
Yeah.
gifting to share with the world. And yeah, working through everybody has personal trauma, everybody has patterns, everybody has things that they need to always be looking at in their lives or they won't really evolve or learn these things. And I just thought that was a great way to put it because I often do find that is true with the personal brands that I work with myself when you can actually get to the other side and look at it a little bit more objectively. Suddenly, you can get to know the real you, the brand, the identity comes out, everything is clear, things just get more clear. I don't think you can ever get clear until you start looking at those things.
Yeah. And that idea of who do I need to be in order to be chosen? Who do I need to be in order to be valuable? Is this, you said it before, masking, it's performance, like all of those things. But what my experience of playing those roles totally my whole life, for me, it was who do I need to be safe? Because my background is really crazy traumatic. And so it was about being safe, it's about being liked, it's about being loved, all of those things. But when I was trying to be that other thing, you just imagine if I put on a big gorilla suit and I'm trying to connect and really sit and have a conversation with you. You can't see my eyes. You have no idea what's behind there. So there's not an authentic connection. You could walk around in Times Square and see the King Kong gorilla guy, but you are not connecting with anything that's real because it's just a suit. And so I think when it comes to brands and when it comes to entrepreneurship, if you're trying to build something that's meaningful to you, the most important thing is to be connected to actually who you are so that people can connect to you.
It's funny, in a more recent coaching session, one of my coaches shared that he was working with a coach that made the most impact with him or on him in his life so far. And he said his first meeting really upset him. He was really mad about it because the first question she asked was, "Who are you?" And he was like, "What kind of stupid BS question is that?" But then I thought about it and I was like, "Wait, I can't actually answer that, right?" And it was an interesting exercise because everybody in the room started going, "Wait, who am I?" And it's a hard question to answer, isn't it?
Well, it is, but if I were to answer that question, I would say something. I would get so esoteric. I'd be like, I am all things and no things. Because one of the things that people do, we try to put ourselves in this box, and to be safe or to be valuable, if I learn to be valuable, to be safe, I must be nice. I must not be strong,
Mhm.
powerful, and in your face, and any of that. Don't be that. So shove that part away, but I will be nice and immediate, and I'll bend over backward for you, and I will do all of that. So who I used to be, I would have years ago, I would have said, I'm nice, I'm kind, I would have said all these words. But the truth of the matter is that I'm so much more than that. And I'm fierce and I'm strong and I'm fucking a taker sometimes. And I'm fucking a shitbag sometimes. And I all of these things. But that, like, all of those everything combined is what gives you the power of who you are. It's like the unique lens that you're looking through the world with that nobody else has.
Yes.
And Jenna,
Oh, no, I knew I called this on myself.
who are you?
So, I answer this question now much differently than I would have before I did some self-work, but I'm a connector, I'm a seeker, I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm a human's human. I might talk a lot about AI, but I care about humans. I really deeply care about the humans in my life, and I think, yeah, I'm just a human having or a human experience here on Earth and trying to figure out what it's all about. I don't answer from the lens of I'm an entrepreneur or whatever I do anymore. I would have answered before from the lens of this is what I do. This is the value that I put into the world. But I think now I would just say I'm a human seeker.
Human seeker. What are the parts of you that you don't want people to see?
Oh, I really don't want them to see any of my weaknesses. Not
Which are
any of
which are I'm
them.
like, I don't want them to see it. There's a reason why I'm asking this
Yeah.
question.
Sometimes I don't know all the answers, but I wanna say that I do. Sometimes I am freaking terrified of what I'm doing right now or what I'm about to do or what I just did, but I wouldn't wanna let anybody know about that because then it might seem like I don't know what I'm doing or I'm not smart or I don't have this down or like
Yeah,
it's that perfectionism. There's still the perfectionism voice
yeah.
that
So
runs in my head.
the part of you that doesn't know the answers,
Yeah.
right?
Part of me that doesn't know the answers still gets pretty cranky
Yeah,
when
and
doesn't know the answers. Yeah.
Right. And so I'm going to guess that there was probably some situation in life where somebody was like, oh, you're not smart enough, or you're not doing it right, or does. So then to cope with that, to cope with the person who didn't like that, you had to know everything, had to figure it out, had to make sure it was right. But here's the thing, right? This is a part of you that you want to deny, push it away. The part of me that doesn't know the answers, I want to pretend that part doesn't exist. I want to operate if I know all the answers. But the part of you that doesn't know the answers is the part that connects to your magic, because it's the part of you that actually can connect to source and access information that is new and different from what you're doing. So that part of us, and this is what we do, we, all of us, I do it, everybody does it, we deny these parts of ourselves because we were shamed for it, ridiculed for it, rejected for it, or terrible bad consequences happen. And once we do that, we shut off superpowers of that. So by denying that part exists, you're actually denying the part of you that can connect to source, your higher self, the divine, the Akashic records, whatever it is, that can access information that's completely different, completely new, and that's magical for just you to bring forth into the world. And this is the thing that we do as humans. We deny these parts of ourselves because of our past experiences, and we shut off our superpowers.
Totally. I've
Sorry.
done it. I've watched myself.
When I rant there, I'm like, "Blah."
No, I loved it. It's true, and it resonates with me all the way through. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's this thing we talked about in the beginning. It was like you, or before we got on this, what are we doing podcast?
Yeah, yeah.
Like this live, this phone call. What is this thing? Before we connected through the ether on the internet, we were talking about you had to come to this place of acceptance about wanting an abnormal, above life experience. And that, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think the fact that I wanted to be on TV as a kid, I wanted to be a news reporter, that says something about, that kind of describes probably an abnormal, above average, different kind of life. But I think growing up, for some reason, and I still don't know where this came from, but it's still something that's in the back of my mind today. One of my biggest fears for some reason was to live a boring life or to live like a mediocre, vanilla, just like standard life. And definitely when I entered the workforce, that belief for that kind of like desire of mine, there was major pushback on it from society, the people around me that were modeling to me that what I had, I should be happy with. And I started to understand that by me wanting more than this, I'm actually automatically being a little bit offensive toward the other people who are just happy right where they are, right where I am.
Who do
That
I need to be seen as valuable? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, exactly. And so I found myself feeling I feel different than these people. I feel alone, but I can't quite put my finger on why. Now I can see it was because I couldn't quite sort through what I was feeling and observing. I knew that there was something inherently wrong with me wanting more and then what the path that I was on was
You
definitely going to give me. The path was clear, but I knew, especially in those environments, if I expressed anything different than complete satisfaction going along the same track as them, that I would be hurt. potentially hurting them, right? So then I created some shame and some pushing away of, no, I probably don't actually really want that. This is fine. Everybody else thinks this is fine. And people would think I'm stepping on their choices, their lifestyle, the people that I'm currently surrounded with, if I were to start saying, hey, I want more than this, and this is how I'm going to go get it. That's weird. That's weird in those circles. It is frowned upon.
It's interesting that the way your perception of it was that you living a bigger life, or you articulating what you wanted, or you sharing your ideas, doing all those things that are not like part of the sheep herd mentality would hurt them. That's a really interesting perspective because most people would be concerned about the backlash that they would get from them rather than hurting them. So I'm curious when you started playing small to protect other people.
Yeah, it was de- definitely when I was able to do news reporting for a little bit. It was really like the first job that I got out when I got out of college. That's another subject on why I chose not to continue down that path. Once I got the thing I wanted my entire life, from there I went into like the straight corporate ladder
Well,
system.
I'm curious to actually go there.
Oh, okay.
If you're willing, what happened? You got the thing that you wanted, right? And be news reporting and performing, all of that is about being seen,
I
right? You
know.
want to be on
Yeah.
TV, you want to be seen, you want to. So what happened? You may or may not have thought about this from this perspective, but what happened when you started news reporting that made you feel like you're being seen hurt other people?
Oh, nobody has ever asked me this question. Another wow, Genea, but I have thought about this a lot, and especially recently. And that is a good question for me to answer because it has a lot to do with my like the bad patterning that I continued on with for years.
It-
In school, in journalism school, they teach you about ethics. They teach you about how powerful the media is. They teach you about media literacy and especially what I was interested in, the idea of watchdog journalism, the idea of the journalist being the person in society who stands up for the people and tells the truth to protect them, to give them information that can help them live better lives. That was my fairy tale idea of what being a journalist was until I actually got my first job and got out into the real world. And I was like the ripe age of, I don't know, 22, 23. I was very young. And there were just a lot of things that happened that showed me that it's an ugly, it's an ugly job. I could tell you about there were a couple specific experiences where I had to go home and say, I don't think I can do this. And it was around the idea that I felt I was harming people. Yeah. And it was such a contrast from what I thought I would be doing
right.
in the role. But suddenly I was placed in Flint, Michigan. It's one of the most dangerous cities in the United States. You've
Yep.
probably heard about it on the news. I worked there before the water crisis happened that people would probably know the city from, but it is a destitute, sad area. And a lot of sad things happen there. Shootings, murders, gruesome, terrible stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that's on the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that community is living with every day. Like,
Yeah.
so what I was realizing is I was actually being my voice, my identity was being used to create a really bad echo chamber for this already hurting community. And I saw that in the way that I was asked to tell a couple of stories specifically. And we could do a whole separate conversation on media literacy and where your news comes from and all of the things. But I did actually have my news director pull me aside and scold me for telling stories that were too positive at one point on the 6 o'clock news. She reminded me that if it bleeds, it leads. Don't forget that, and sent me out to go cover a funeral for some local city official that had been murdered. It was something like that. It was, there are a couple more things that happened before that, but like when that conversation occurred, I was like, I have to pull myself out of this. I knew I was probably about to get fired anyway, so I bowed out at that point, and that's when I just made a complete pivot and went into marketing. And I felt very strongly that when I made that pivot, I was like, "At least I'm not using my voice to hurt people."
It's interesting too, right? Because it's still marketing is influence, journalism is still influence. And there's that place about being seen, maybe not so much, but you're now in corporate jobs trying not to be seen because you're afraid it will hurt people because of your previous experience. But there's this truth about for you being seen, which of course makes sense because you're like, if you're like, keep putting on these masks of who you need to be seen as valuable,
Right.
there's a desire, I think, for all of us to be seen, but also a fear because of consequences of when we have been seen. But also this place where you want to be of influence. So it makes sense that you've had this inner thing that you want that above normal, that abnormal above life experience. And so in your quests to do that, it seems like you keep it's not that you're picking situations where you're getting thwarted with what you want, but maybe it's perhaps who you are being in those situations.
Yes. Yeah, there's definitely something to that.
Tell me in if those situations were to work out in the way that you perceived, like you dreamed about them working out versus the way that they worked out, what do you see is the difference in how you were being then versus now how you could be?
Yeah, I think I was definitely in full on denial for many years that that was, like, such a pivot point in my life and that the kind of what you just explained, like, what it actually meant to me, what it told my nervous system essentially about the danger of being seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, I wish I would have dealt with it sooner because I hid for a long time. I definitely hid for a long time behind whatever brand I was representing. That's easy. You never have to know anything about yourself when you're just executing on someone else's brand.
Totally.
And boy, I'm forgetting the original question, but
You're right where
that
you
was
need to be.
yeah, that was my hiding spot for a lot of years, and I'm just now recognizing this in the last few months as I move into being seen more for what I am doing and bringing into the world. This is not someone else's brand that I'm molding to. This is me, and wait, but who am I? Because I've never been just me before. I've never shown up. This is the first time in my life, in my career, that I've shown up as me.
Yeah.
Me representing me.
And it's
Wow.
so beautiful that you're here because the brands that you work with, so many of them are there too. And it's like, I wanna be and I wanna work with somebody who understands what it's like to be here. Sure, when you're working with somebody because of your history and all of the things that you've done with other brands, you can see so clearly what they can't see. But for them to be in that place where you also understand where, "Oh, shit. Now, if I'm going to really, especially in the age of AI, we have to really put our true self out there, not our polished perfection self out there. If I'm going to do that, like I want to work with somebody who understands how fucking scary that is and how hard that is. And who can help me get to the nitty gritty of who I actually am so that I can put forward something that's authentic and not a walking version of what I've always presented myself to be. And
Mm.
so it's like, I'm so glad that you're here and you're expressing that because people who are in that same place want to work with people who understand that feeling because it's fucking scary. It's important.
It's terrifying. Building your own personal brand of any sort, building your own thing that is you is the most terrifying thing I've ever done.
Yeah,
And I've done a lot of terrifying things. More terrifying than some of the situations I was put in Flint. You know what I'm saying?
totally.
And I have found myself also really being grateful for the connections I've been able to make with others like you who
Yeah,
are we're doing the same things. We're on the battlefield together even if we aren't directly working together. We're on the same mission. We can totally resonate and understand each other's experiences
yeah,
and goals and the freaking crazy tough things that pop up all the time, and most importantly, the inability to escape yourself. They say in addiction recovery, everywhere you go, there you are.
yeah,
When you are building something for yourself, I don't know if this has been true for you, but holy moly, everywhere I go, there I am. And not in the literal sense, like putting my face out there. I'm talking about whatever beliefs I have, whatever patterning I have, whatever is going on up here, there it is.
yeah,
But it's showing up better for me in my human connections now because I've been able to be more vulnerable, to connect with other people who are on a similar journey, who won't think it's completely wacky if I talk about some of this stuff. And just looking at my own perspective shift, there are so many things that I used to believe about the world, about myself, about my place in the world that I no longer believe.
yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. But getting to that was not easy. And I'm still working on it. I'm learning things every day about myself and others. It is, I have such deep respect for anybody who is willing to go there because it is difficult. It is the most difficult thing that I think anyone could do is go further into self while also being vulnerable with others and sharing that journey with other people at the
Yeah.
same time.
And on the other side of that, you get to be more and more free. You said it earlier. I want to be the Jenna that's just Jenna in every single room, no matter what the circumstance is. And so we're all on that journey, right? I love to say, I've got it all figured out, but fuck, no. I still slide back into that stuff. Oh God, what's my grandma going to think about the money I just spent on this thing? Oh God, like, oh, those things are real and true, even if you seem like we have it all together. How do people work with you? How do people who are on that journey of stepping into, I want to use AI, but I don't want to lose the human aspect of me and I need to put truth of who I am out there. How do people work with you and get in touch with you? And then I'm
Oh,
going to ask you the big question at the end of this. So if you're
okay.
listening, stay tuned. Don't shut it off yet.
Okay. I am available on Instagram. You can send me a DM. It's just my name, Jenna.Evola. Email, you can email me too, but honestly, I feel like I'm most accessible through Instagram. So hit me there. I'm starting my own podcast. Would love it if you would watch it too. It's called The Way We Work. It's launching soon. My handle is Jenna.Evola there on YouTube as well. But yeah, I love working with builders. If you're building anything and you're trying to figure out your digital identity, like where does the AI, where does the digital fit in this whole system that you're building now? I'd love to talk to you. That's what I do. It's what I'm passionate about. You can see I'm in the middle of my own journey
Right.
right now as well. And yeah, just talking to other builders is one of my favorite things. So reach out.
Awesome. Awesome. And so the final question, of course, is what does being the wolf mean to you?
To me, it means being able to operate from my true nature 100% of the time. As much of my life as I can, and being able to recognize when I'm not operating within my true nature, when I'm like blocking something and why I'm doing that. Because you explained to me the theme of what being the wolf means to you. And yeah, it is to me, it's about my true nature, like being able to just be living in it at all times.
Love that. Love that. All right, everybody. Remember, when you operate from the wholeness of who you are, from the essence of who you are, from the truth of who you are, humanity evolves. We'll see you next time on Be the Wolf. Bye, everyone.